All right. I'm not sure if I can do two devices, so Carrie, I may rely on you to click. Is that all right? It's like walking and chewing gum at the same time. I'm pretty good at that, but I don't know about this. So it's great to be here. Thank you to Pure Hope for having me, for inviting Enough is Enough. Just as a way of a little history, when I joined Enough is Enough in 1994, we were actually a program under the National Coalition Against Pornography that was birthed by Jerry Kirk and his wonderful organization. And at that time, we were focused primarily on protecting children, women, and families from illegal pornography and pornography in print and broadcast. The internet had not really happened yet. And within a couple of weeks of my coming on board, we started to see the early beginnings of black market pornography surfacing on the Usenet news groups and on the bulletin board services, and also predators exchanging child pornography and talking about how to molest children on these news groups and this kind of thing. And we thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be huge, because what we knew and what we had learned from Jerry and everyone who had gone before us is that the pornographers and the predators are always on the cutting edge of technology, right? So it would be no surprise that they would be on the cutting edge of this new technology called the internet. This was even prior to the World Wide Web being developed. So that's how I came on in '94. And that's when Dee Jepson was the president. And at that point, we went to Congress, we started talking to the technology industry, and we said, you know what, we've got a great opportunity to get on the front end of this problem. And we really did. And so we began legislative efforts. We began talking to the industry about corporate responsibility and developing tools. This is before the first filter even happened. And we started a lot of public education and awareness, and came up with a strategy that is still working today, and that is that we need to have a shared responsibility between the public, between the technology industry, and between the legal community with respect to public policy and enforcing current law. I call it, it's kind of like the three-legged stool. If one's not working right, the whole stool topples over. And then the fourth piece of that is the faith-based effort, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. So fast forward, made some progress, had a lot of setbacks, but the problem continued to grow. And so we created a number of years ago, in the early, probably 2004, a program to reach parents. And this is what we had found, that parents are the weak link in the chain when it comes to protecting their children. Why? Because there's a perfect storm scenario. Okay, you've got the majority of your children are online. Do you know what the first age of digital footprint that a child has is? Anybody want to venture a guess? 2 years old. 2 years old. Why? And some of them before they even come out of the womb, because mommies-to-be post their sonograms. Okay? So, but anyhow, kids are online, right? They have free and easy access to all kinds of pornography, everything you can imagine, and I'll cover that in just a minute. Also, sexual predators have easy and anonymous access to children. They have easy and anonymous and free access to child pornography. That has never happened before. All right? You've got a whole new brand of child pornography now online, because as more and more kids are abused, they then just put that video and that and those pictures up online, and it's a $3 billion industry and growing. Over half of it is very abusive child pornography, including bestiality. The youngest of the children are around infants. So big problem with the predators online. Kids are engaging in risky behavior. We have a real issue with lack of law enforcement and closing the loopholes in some of the existing laws. And Pat Truman's going to talk more about the obscenity laws. But where's the weak link? We've got cyber-challenged parents. We've got a generation of parents that did not grow up with this technology. And we've got a generation of kids who did. So the kids are the digital natives, right? The parents are the digital immigrants, right? So we've got a disconnect. How do we reach the parents? Because they're already overwhelmed with the technology. They've got new dangers they've never had to think about before. And so reaching the parents has been the focus of our work the past number of years, because this is really all about a battle for the minds and the hearts of our children, right? And parents, we believe, are the first line of defense. They should be the first line of defense, but unfortunately, because so many of the laws are not being enforced, they are not only having to protect their children from inappropriate content and potentially dangerous people, they are having to protect their children from illegal content and criminals. And this is all falling on the shoulders of the parent. So as a result, I'm not going to talk much about this. The only reason I even threw this slide up here is because of the last question that went to Steve Largent earlier. But we created a program which is a multimedia program, which is a 4-part DVD series, a workbook, an online interactive website, et cetera, and we cover all the dangers, all right? It's actually a curriculum for parents and educators and law enforcement. Why? Because they need to understand what they are, and they need to know what the safety measures are so that they can use those tools, the non-technical measures and the technical measures. All right, so what I'm going to do here, we're talking about mobile pornography in youth, but I think it's essential to understand what kind of material kids have access to. Now, there are 3 types of pornography that the law considers to be, or that where there are legal definitions. First is harmful to minors material, or indecency. That is illegal for kids in print and broadcast, but not on the internet. Anybody know why? Did we try to go get these laws extended to the internet? Yes, we did, twice. Got struck down by the Supreme Court, twice, all right? That would have put a brown cyber wrapper in front of this material, much like you see a cyber wrapper in front of a Hustler or a Penthouse or a Playboy magazine or something in a store. All right, so net result, we have no protection like that on the internet. Secondly is obscenity. This is illegal adult material. This depicts graphic sexual acts and also the very deviant material as well, like bestiality, incest, torture, rape, etc. Is this illegal for adults? Yes. Is it for kids? Yes. Do kids have access to it? Yes. Right. And then, of course, there's child pornography, one of the fastest growing businesses on the internet. So it's important that parents and adults realize that when we talk about kids having access to pornography online, that's all of this material. All right? It's not just the harmful to minors kind of material that is protected speech for adults in print and broadcast. Lost my clicker. All right. Kids can access this material intentionally or unintentionally. 1 in 3 access it intentionally. About 7 in 10, and some statistics say 9 in 10, are accessing this material accidentally. About 79% of the access has been in the home. That study was a number of years ago before mobile technology, so I'm not sure that that's really accurate anymore. But what kind of material? How are the pornographers actually tricking kids into getting to their content? Let me ask you this. I think Judith asked how many of you had seen pornography, right? So how many of you have seen internet pornography? Hold up your hands. Accidentally. Now all the hands should go up. Right? Okay? Okay. We know you didn't go there looking for it. Okay. So that's because the pornographers are brilliant marketers. They know exactly what they're doing, and they are trying to get unsuspecting people to their site, okay? They have free pictures up on these websites and free videos, sometimes hundreds or thousands of them. Why? To allure you in. And once you get to one of these sites, what happens? You can't get out usually, because of what they call looping and mousetrapping technology. So what's the purpose? To keep you there, to get your defenses lowered, to increase your temptation, lower defenses, increase, and all of a sudden, they may have you hooked. Now, 40% of kids who have accidentally come across pornography have come across it through an innocent word search. Okay? We'll use this little clicker right here. Can you all read that? That would say water sports. Now, what would you think that means? Swimming in the ocean, scuba diving, right? Well, in the pornography world, it means something else, urination pornography. This website has been up ever since I started. I use it all the time. You go to the home page, and there is the most foul material you can possibly imagine with women being treated as toilets. We had to blur everything out on, this is the home page. 15 minutes, okay. I better get, do I have 15 minutes left? Oh, thank you, good. 5 minutes left. Okay, I'm going to breeze through this. Okay, misspelled word, 12%. All right, right here, boys.com spelled properly is a wonderful, wholesome site for kids, for boys. With a Z, hardcore gay pornography. Very hardcore, I might add. All right, now kids can obviously get material intentionally. Now, I don't know how many kids are going to look for bestiality, but I just did this to see what would come up. This is a Google search, 2.5 million returns for bestiality. And you can go to any of these sites and see usually women having sex with any animal in Noah's Ark, all right? So, all right, well, does this material harm kids? Yes, whether it's the really hardcore variety, the softer core variety, doesn't matter, it harms kids. Now, I'm going to show a little excerpt from our Internet Safety 101 program that is from the pornography segment, and this is some clips from that segment, and you'll see some familiar faces here. We're going to go ahead and play that. It's just a few minutes. You just have to click it. There you go.
The content that our kids are encountering online is not your father's pornography. It is graphic. It is explicit. It is deviant. It's aberrant. Kids are seeing content that no 12 or 13-year-old is mentally, psychologically, or emotionally prepared to deal with.
The home that used to be the safe haven and a protective barrier from the world has now become the very place where the sex industry is grooming our youth. When children have access to any array of material through the click of a mouse, they can power through large amounts of material in a very brief period of time.
Even if you're not looking for it, you could be innocent. If you go on the computer, on the internet, and you're looking for something good, it will find you.
The pornographers are some of the most brilliant marketers on the internet.
This is a repeat.
And they also have some very deceptive marketing tactics. The misuse of cartoon characters and child icons. Yeah. There is such a thing as Disney Pornland. Your favorite Disney characters, your child can see engaging in sexual conduct with one another. And The Simpsons and many of the other ones as well. Just another marketing tactic.
Pornography, like most addictions, drugs, alcohol, etc., shuts down the prefrontal cortex. Otherwise, the prefrontal cortex would go crazy from all the anxiety from this behavior that's wrong. And then there is a loss of free agency because it demands a repetition of the experience over and over again.
Pornography shaped my want for sex and what I wanted to do whenever I started having sex, big time. It wasn't just like, you know, oh, I want to have a relationship with this girl and have sex with her. It was like, I just want to have sex with as many as I can. And then, you know, sex was pretty meaningless, you know what I mean? I just wanted to do what they did on the porn, so.
Were the girls in real life like the girls in pornography?
No, ma'am. The girls in real life are nothing like the girls in pornography.
Children are doing what children are supposed to do. The children are supposed to imitate what the adult society says is good for important women and men. We show them those pictures. We show them those acts. They will do that because that's what children are supposed to do. Does it destroy them? Yes, it does. Is it their fault? No, it's our fault.
It does make them curious because, you know, they say, okay, well, I'm watching it. Just like a little girl when she watches Cinderella, you know, she wants to be just like her. And the kids that watch porn, they want to be just like them. Pretty much kind of destroyed our lives because we depended on it. And it just broke friendships, it broke like relationships, it broke like respect for ourselves and our respect for others.
Those young teenagers, girls and boys, most of them had gotten started on pornography at around 8, 9 years old. And, you know, by the time I talked to them, they were at a House of Hope and really come through, you know, doing great. They had a lot of other issues. They weren't there for that. But, you know, there's a lot of crossover issues and addictions with some of these hurting teens, and that's certainly one of them. But the whole harms clip in this production in this particular segment is about 5 or 6 minutes, and it really has a lot of great material. I hope you'll take a look at it on our website and or possibly in our program if you decide to get it. Anyhow, I just wanted to make a point here on acting out. There are a lot of harms of pornography. I think all of you know what they are, but I just found this very interesting. It was a while ago, but actually in the sex attacks of kids attacking other kids sexually, they actually, this article, they blamed internet pornography because these kids were imitating what they were seeing. I share the story in our program of a mother whose 4-year-old and 2-year-old were bathing together, and the little 4-year-old began to try to insert something to his little baby sister, and the mother was just freaked out, obviously, and said, "What are you doing? Where did you get this idea?" And he had seen pornography on the internet and was just so innocent and was just imitating what he had seen. And so this is not unusual. Like Judith had said, kids do imitate what they see. You heard Courtney say this as far as young girls trying to be like the porn stars and young boys trying to be that way and behave that way. Anyway, this was a more recent study by the Center for Disease Control, and they found that youth who looked at X-rated material are 6 times more likely to force someone to do something sexually, either online or offline. No surprise there. This is another fairly new study. Now, these are 12 to 15-year-olds. Okay, they were surveyed, and 53% of the boys and 28% of the girls ages 12 to 15 in the southeast of the United States, the Bible Belt, are using pornography, internet pornography. I think somebody may have covered this. Was this the Generation X? No one's covered this? Okay. When we started this again back in 94, we had the great dream and vision and prayer that we could actually stop this from happening. Okay, we sure tried, didn't we? And but we didn't. Kids have been fed a steady diet of some of the worst material that you can possibly imagine. Now, this is a study of the first generation that has grown up with the internet and with internet pornography, and this is what the study found. It was a study of 18 to 26-year-olds. Okay, this is a fairly recent study. And they found, as you can see up here, I don't have to read it to you, but 89% of the young men and 31% of the women used pornography, and then they found some of the attitudes that were a part of a result of this. Again, none of this is healthy for them, for our culture, or for their future families. Now, to mobile technology. It's not about just protecting your kids on the desktop anymore, right? Okay? Just when the parent thought, I've got it, I've got the computer in a public area of the house, I've got parental controls turned on, I can check that box. Up comes mobile technology. You've got laptops, PDAs, cell phones, iPhones, iPads, whatever else that hasn't been developed that's coming out next week. Who knows? And so anywhere that a child has an internet-enabled device is another access point for them to obviously connect on the internet and do all the great things that the internet allows them to do, but it's also an access point for them to be able to access pornography, for the pornographers to access them, the same thing with predators, etc. A lot of parents, for instance, don't even know that mobile gaming devices are computers. How many of you all knew that? Okay, I had a mom call me and she goes, gosh, my 13-year-old boy, he's gotten hooked on porn on the internet and everything else, but so I took the internet away, doesn't have his laptop anymore, and I said, well, what do you let him do? Well, he's got his Xbox. I said, oh, really? So did he hook it up? Yeah. I said, I bet he gave himself complete access to the internet. Do you know that that has, internet-enabled access? She had absolutely no idea. So this is very, very important that we recognize that now it's anywhere access. It makes it more challenging for the parent because there's so many more access points, but it doesn't make it impossible. With respect to just some behavior, I just think this is extraordinary. I'm still not into texting that much, but 1 in 3 kids are sending 100 texts a day. I mean, I think they're going to have carpal thumb syndrome or something develop. I've got that just from my BlackBerry. But 20% or 1 in 5 say that they're engaging in sexting. With the Web 2.0 world, and I don't know if that makes sense to y'all when I say Web 2.0, but the Web 1.0 was when we downloaded information, all right? You could surf and you download, right? Now, the evolving internet is what we refer to as Web 2.0, and it's very interactive. So you're uploading, you're downloading, you can be a content producer and everything else. So this has opened up a lot of risky behaviors that kids are getting engaged in. Even, cyberbullying and that kind of thing. So I'm just going to play a little clip of risky behavior. You can hear from the kids themselves.
Many children don't necessarily understand the risks of talking with adults online. It's very hard for a child to comprehend that an adult would want to hurt them and would want to engage in such bizarre activities. Many children think that they can handle it, that they can deal with this type of activity.
It's pretty much an online hookup. You kind of paint images with your words when you talk to them, and you'll send videos and pictures, and you don't know them at all, and it's kind of like an online relationship with somebody you don't even know, and it's very sexual.
Most of the children that we see engaging in activities of a very sexually explicit nature on the internet generally begin at about 12. Between 12 and 14 is probably the largest segment that we see where children are being enticed to engage in sexual activity online.
Kids were very, very willing to send pictures of a sexual nature. It did not take a lot of convincing to get that type of picture.
There's also a rise among teens of creating child pornography, with their cell phones and with camcorders of acts that they're doing with their boyfriends and girlfriends, and then that stuff is getting posted out there on the internet, and the children are getting exploited, sometimes by their peers.
Okay, can I get over to the next? Sorry, we're just waiting for the next slide. I'm not sure what's up next. I start talking. Can you click to the next slide? Just there you go. Okay. Well, like we said, pornographers are on the cutting edge, obviously. So you've probably heard about FaceTime. There's now FaceTime pornography. Where anyone could actually engage in real-time, live, interactive sex with someone in the pornography business. Video Barbie is just an innocent toy, but they put a webcam on her, right? So little girls are now, instructed on how to, make videos with their little Barbie. And unfortunately, Mattel, talking about corporate responsibility, didn't bother to put any safeguards around this about, how to make sure if your kids are using a video cam, even if it's on little Barbie, that it is safe. But that's what we do, again, with our program. If you understand webcam safety, then when a parent sees something like Video Barbie, they're going to we're not going to have time for this, so I'm just going to skip it. They're going to know what to do. So at the end of the day, we believe that parents just simply have to understand the risk to their kids. We find that parents typically fall into a number of categories. That's either not my kids, maybe somebody else's kids, but I've got good kids, or I've got Christian kids and I don't need to worry about it, or I've got the computer in a public area of the house, or I've got a parental control turned on and they haven't thought about the cell phone, the Xbox, or anything else, or they think maybe somebody else's kid, all right, but not my sweet Mary. How many of you hear that? I hear it all the time. And I always say, hey, you know what? If adults, and even Christian adults, are not immune, to this, 38% of pastors are struggling with porn, 1 in 5 Christian women, blah, 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 blah. Do you really think your child, is safe from the intrusive marketing tactics of the pornographers or the predators? No way. No way. So they need to understand those dangers. They need to understand how the predators are interacting with kids and grooming them. They need to understand social networking safety, online gaming, cyberbullying. So all of that, and then we just teach safety, the non-technical tools and the technical tools to keep kids safe on all internet-enabled devices. And the good news is it can be done. Parents are the first line of defense, and we're just real happy that, we were able to come and share with you today. But if you'd oblige me 3 seconds here, because I know RAP is a sponsor of this conference. A number of years ago, I talk about the 3-prong approach and everything else, and we're doing education. That's really our focus right now, and that's so important because now it's a prevention is worth a pound of cure. But I'm going to tell you what I believe that God spoke to my heart a number of years ago. I said, you know what, we're all working so hard and it seems like we're losing the battle, It's one life at a time, and you see a whole generation get hooked on stuff. And this is the verse of Scripture that came to me. And as I was thinking about it, and the problem of sexual brokenness inside the church, and even with porn struggles inside the church, I thought of this. I said, you know what, God promises to heal our land, doesn't he? But who is the responsibility on? His people. It's us. It's got to start with us. So, the scripture, if those who are called by my name, not the rest of the culture, us, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. It could be passivity. It could be judgmentalism. It could be secret sins. It could be any of those things. It's so easy to cast the first stone, isn't it? It is. And if the church can be a safe place for people to come from darkness into light, to receive healing, right? That's where it begins. And I encourage you at this conference to remember that this is a spiritual battle first. It's got to be won there. And I believe if we do that, if our churches can become safe places, people can come into the light, get set free, get healed, that all this stuff we're going to see, this promise, it can come true if we start with ourselves. Thank you.